Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be making a low-carb strawberry ice cream. And the three keys to making a really tasty strawberry ice cream are cold, fat, and a sweetener. And those things are just important so that you can get it at least close to the consistency of ice cream. So what we're going to do here is I've got some cream, heavy cream that I'm using. Pour that into my mixing bowl. My strawberries I've already cleaned and trimmed them, and they are in the freezer. They've actually been in the freezer since last night. I really want them nice and hard. Now I have my cream in my bowl. I'm going to use my sweetener. I'm only using a 1/4 cup of it. Now traditionally with ice cream, what you would do is you would take your cream and your sweetener and you'd put it over the stove over a medium heat, and you just basically bring the cream not to a boil but definitely to a simmer. You want it warm to help actually dilute the sugar basically, or melt it. I'm not doing that because when you do that, you then have to wait 4 hours for your cream to chill before it can go into the ice cream maker. So all I'm doing is I'm using my sweetener. You can certainly use a powdered one if you want to. I'm not, I'm using granular. And I'm just gonna stir this for about 5 minutes or so. I've been stirring for about 5 minutes, and pretty much the way you tell that your sweetener's dissolved is you just sort of touch your spoon, and it's mostly bubbles you'll see. It's not anything granular, and that means it's all set and ready to go. The sweetener's been dissolved. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some vanilla extract for some flavor, strawberry extract, adding in a bit of salt. I'm using sea salt to make sure that the ice cream, once it's in the freezer, doesn't ice up too much. The next thing we're gonna do, we're simply gonna cover this up, and it's gonna go into the fridge for an hour. Again, cold is really, really important when you're making ice cream. And in about 30 minutes before this comes out, I'm gonna take out the strawberries to soften them up a little bit. All right, we're about to pull the cream out of the refrigerator. I'm also gonna get the freezer bowl out of the freezer. Just so you know, I did pull out my strawberries. Again, I'm using fresh strawberries. I just froze them last night. These are gonna sit out for a little bit, but they don't go into the ice cream machine until the end of the churning process. So let me go ahead and get everything out of the fridge and freezer. All right, I have my ice cream machine turned on. You're supposed to turn it on first. I'm giving my cream just a quick stir, and I'm just gonna go ahead and pour it in to the ice cream machine. Now, this is gonna churn for my machine anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes. If you have your own ice cream machine, the mixing time is gonna be different for you. I will say this, below in the directions on the quantities and how to make this recipe, I'm also gonna show you, for those of you who don't have an ice cream machine, I'll have information on how you can actually make your own ice cream in a food processor. It only takes about 5 minutes. All right, I have my strawberries in my food processor, and all I'm gonna do is basically, they're still frozen pretty solid, I'm just gonna chop them up. All right, I'm at the point where my ice cream is almost done. I'm gonna go ahead and add the strawberries. All right, the ice cream is done. I'm gonna turn off the machine. It's not churning anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and take a quick little taste. And this is actually nice consistency where we can actually serve it now instead of putting it in the freezer to harden up. But let's go ahead and give it a taste. Okay, this tastes awesome. The strawberries, there's little bits and pieces or little chunks in there, which is perfect because I didn't want very large pieces of strawberries in there, and they're still holding near how solid they are. The flavor is amazing. I added a little bit of strawberry extract. I'm not even sure if it needed that because the strawberries were pretty intense flavor to begin with. I tried them yesterday before I froze them. I'm gonna go ahead and get this in the freezer, get it out of the machine, and then I'm gonna give you some tips in case you want to use different ingredients and also to deal with sort of the iciness issues that tends to pop up when you're making ice cream that is low in carbs. Ice creams in the freezer are getting hard. Now, if you want to use something other than cream because you have a food allergy, you can certainly use coconut cream, coconut milk with the cream line mixed in, almond milk, macadamia nut milk, or even soy milk. You definitely can use those things, but you have to be cautious because the key with frozen ice cream, making it at home, is fat content. Coconut milk, or coconut cream actually, is the best one you can use because of the high fat content. The fat is what makes it creamy and it makes it sort of come together when it's churning in there. If you're using almond milk or some type of nut milk or a seed milk, then what you're going to have to look at doing is simply take your frozen strawberries, absolutely frozen, you chop them up like I showed you in the video. Then you go ahead and add your alternative liquid that you're going to use, but make sure that is definitely chilled for a while before you actually pull it out of the fridge. Just pour it in there, you go ahead and give it a spin in your food processor with the frozen strawberries that are chopped up, and sure enough, it's going to come into sort of a very soft serve ice cream. You don't want to freeze it. You're basically going to go ahead and eat it right then and there, and it takes you about 5 minutes to put it together. Now, one of the challenges with low carb ice creams is that they tend to, once you put them in the freezer, they get a little icy and they get hard as a rock, essentially. And that's all due to the sweeteners that we use. Not all sweeteners, but a lot of them. So if you're using something like my favorite sweetener right now to use is Swerve, and it's a erythritol sweetener. I hope I said that right. But that type of sweetener makes it rock hard. If you use something like Xyla, which is a xylitol sweetener, it actually doesn't make it as rock hard. So it depends on the sweetener. You sort of have to play it by ear. If you have a situation where it's rock hard, all you have to do is take it out of the refrigerator for about 20 minutes and let it start warming up. You'll be able to scoop it. Sugar, besides making something sweet, actually helps cut down on the iciness of ice cream, which is why it's used in mass when you buy an ice cream product at the grocery store. One of the things that you can look at doing now, if you're using low carb sweeteners and you don't want it to sit out for 20 minutes, because think about it, you're letting it sit out for 20 minutes to defrost, and then you're taking the scoop that you want, then you put it back in the freezer for it to refreeze. It's just gonna get even more icy. Now, one of the things you can do that helps with that is add, and some of you may be a little bit nervous about this, is add 1 to 2 tablespoons of unflavored vodka, so that when you freeze it, you raise the temperature of what it takes to freeze it, and therefore it's not gonna turn as hard as a rock when it's in your freezer. I didn't do that here because I'm fine with taking it out, for 20 minutes and sort of going from there. It's such a small amount. If you have kids, I'll leave it up to you, but if you're giving them a whole bowl, then I wouldn't add any type of alcohol with that. I can't remember if I mentioned it, but the ice cream that we made is really, really creamy tasting, and it tastes just like you would have at the grocery store, but strangely enough, better because I made it. I hope you give a shot this summer at making your own ice cream. I think you'll enjoy it, and it's a bit of a science experiment, but it's a lot of fun too. So hit like on the video, subscribe, share with your friends, and until next time, I'll see ya.